I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, March the 23rd, 2016. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke over the phone with Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel last night to extend his deep condolences to the people of Brussels after the suicide bombings there killed 32 people yesterday and wounded hundreds of others. Netanyahu also offered assistance from Israel to help Belgium deal with and fight terror. And the Jewish community in Brussels has canceled its major public Purim celebrations at the request of local police. A Megillah reading was to be held at the Great Synagogue of Europe, which is the main synagogue in the city. However, the head of the European Jewish Association, Rabbi Menachem Margolin, told Ynet that the police said that they are unable to protect the event while the city is in a state of war. Police also asked that the Jewish community refrain from wearing masks that cover the entire face during the holiday, whose traditions include dressing up in costume. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of school children wore their Purim costumes to school this morning in Israel to mark the Jewish holiday, which is taking place amidst heightened security in the country. As we mentioned yesterday, the IDF put a temporary closure on the West Bank during the holiday, prohibiting the entrance and exit of Palestinians unless for humanitarian, medical, and exceptional cases. Last year, the West Bank was not closed off for Purim, but the IDF said that the decision this year was made in light of, quote, a directive from the political leadership and after a situational assessment. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told Israeli President Reuven Rivlin today that Turkey was ready to work with Israel to combat terror. Erdogan called Rivlin to express his condolences to the Israeli people after the terror attack Saturday in Istanbul, which killed 3 Israelis and an Iranian, and nearly a dozen Israelis were also among the wounded. In what was an unusual communication between Turkey and Israel, as relations have been greatly strained over the past few years between the two countries, Erdogan told Rivlin, "I believe that against this terrorism, we have to stand together with the international community and take a very, very firm stance and increase our cooperation against all terrorist acts." He said, "In this regard, we are ready to cooperate with Israel against terrorism." Israel's Foreign Ministry Director General Dori Gold had traveled to Istanbul on Sunday and visited the scene of the attacks. It was the first visit by the Foreign Ministry Director in Turkey in the past 5 years. Gold said that relations with Turkey were taking a step forward as the two countries unite in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. Former Israeli President Shimon Peres left Israel for Paris today, where he is set to meet with officials from UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Peres will also take part in the signing of a cooperation agreement between UNESCO and the Paris Center for Peace. The former president will be recognized for his work and that of the center to promote dialogue and peace efforts, and he will reportedly be urging such a dialogue while in Paris between Jewish and Muslim communities there and ask them to jointly condemn terror. Jewish reggae musician Matisyahu is touring colleges across the United States together with a special guest, a Palestinian-American artist, Nadim Azam, in an effort to promote understanding between peoples. The tour is co-sponsored by Hillel chapters across the U.S. Matisyahu has said the decision to play with an Arab musician was in response to his own experience last summer at the Rototom Festival in Spain, where he was disinvited because of pressure from the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, and then reinvited after backlash. Matisyahu wrote on his website last week, "The purpose is to replace boycott and finger-pointing with music as a reminder to find the compassion and humanity we share." Earlier this week, the two artists performed at Boston University. They play tonight at Penn State. They'll also be taking the stage over the next month at such schools as Ohio State, Northwestern, UC Berkeley, and UCLA. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, March the 23rd. At 7:30, Professor of Religious Studies at Yale, Hindi Najman, talks about the challenges of being a Zionist while living in the diaspora. That's from the JCC of Stanford. At 8, international lawyer Hare Arnon talks about the legal norms regarding the West Bank in a program of the Lawfare Project. At 9 tonight, a tribute to the late Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, who died on March the 9th of 1992. Followed at 9:30 as Daniel Gordis of the Shalem College in Jerusalem remembers the late leader as well. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, March the 23rd, 2016. I'm Teisha Bader.